I want to talk about unconditional self-love. Now, I know that term self-love and self-care is just thrown around. I do see people that are, posting things like, I just, did some self-care and showed myself some self-love. And they're talking about very superficial physical things like getting their nails done, their hair done, going shopping. And it's like, okay, I just took care of myself. And don't get me wrong, those things are nice, those things are important, because if we feel good on the outside, we're going to also feel good on the inside. But sometimes doing just those things and not really knowing ourselves in a very deep level is not really going to show, we're not really going to be showing ourselves unconditional self-love if we don't fully know ourselves from the inside out. So I'm more so interested in talking about self-love from a soul level, from the root of who you are. A lot of my videos are very self-centered, kind of taking responsibility, accountability for yourself, which can sometimes come off as, a little tough love. And this is the way that I speak because, in all honesty, this is the life that we have been given, and you are in control of all of the choices that you're making. So you're really deciding how you want your life to look. And I know sometimes taking responsibility can be hard because that means having to look at yourself and not being able to point the finger at anyone else. And sometimes that is so much easier to say no, because they did this to me, and I grew up and this happened to me, and society and the patriarchy and this and that and the other and the government, and we just want to like point, because that just takes away from us having to take full responsibility, which means we don't have to change anything. We don't have to take control of our life because we can just blame them, and that's fine. This is why I'm the way that I am, and I'm just going to continue this way. But if you truly want to make changes in your life and you really want to understand who you are going to have to make that commitment to yourself. And that is probably the biggest commitment that you will make in your life. And I know sometimes people have a hard time being alone, and they think like self-love and like true love and unconditional love is in another person. And people, sometimes jump from one relationship to the next because they have a hard time being alone. They're just looking for something that is going to give them that feeling because they're unable to feel that. They don't know how to give that to themselves. And really, if you cannot make the commitment to show yourself true unconditional self-love, then it's going to be very hard to commit to another person, like fully commit to them. So a lot of the times, whenever this is a cycle that you're going through, those relationships can sometimes be very triggering. Sometimes you can find yourself in the same, cycles over and over. Sometimes it can be a little toxic. It can be, has to do a lot with attachment and avoidant issues. And it's just kind of like the same thing over and over because there is this inability to really understand yourself, your emotions. And I'm not saying that you are meant to be alone and that you should be alone and that this is how things have to be. I'm not saying any of those things. We are mammals, we're human beings. We thrive in community. We're supposed to be in partnerships. We're supposed to be with other people. We're not supposed to be isolated all of the time. But I do feel like a time of isolation is when you can really, truly know and understand yourself, which will then help you whenever it comes to getting to know other people and really thriving in relationships. There are some things that cannot be worked through alone that you will have to work through in relationships. But if you are a person who is doing the inner work, if you are a person who is working on your healing, if you are a person who is more conscious and aware of yourself and full and feeling complete and fulfilled in who you are, then you are going to attract another person that is doing the same thing. And whenever two people that are, healed are coming together, it is so much easier for them to work through any issues that are coming up and really find that communication in a better, healthier way versus just avoiding everything that you're feeling because you just don't want to be alone and you don't want to look at that part of you. So you rather just put a band-aid over it and just find someone that can kind of distract you from that and feel like you're getting that externally. I think it's beautiful to grow in relationship and grow with people. But if you have never taken time in your entire life since you started dating to be alone, then sometimes we are so caught up in doing for other people and being involved with other people that we don't give that time to ourselves. So if you are having a hard time, let's say just sitting in silence, or you are avoiding, certain emotions that are coming up by distracting yourself, which is something that I see often as well. Sometimes we don't want to sit in silence. We don't want to just sit with what's going on. We don't want to ask ourselves that. So what do we find? We want to find someone that we can call. Anytime we get in the car or we have alone time at home, we just picking up the phone, seeing who we can call. We want to turn on the TV. We want to turn on music. We want to turn something on that is going to really distract us from our thoughts, distract us from what we're feeling, because we don't want to sit with that. So if you really want to know how to love yourself, you are going to have to understand what is going on inside of you. So really need to sit with the silence, and you really need to tune in and ask yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? How am I feeling? What is it that I need in this moment? And you are going to discover so much about yourself, because we're going to start to tap into things that we weren't even aware of. And that's how you start to be more aware of your emotions. That's how you start to be more aware of your thoughts, and also bringing awareness to how you are speaking to yourself, the things that you're thinking about yourself, the self-judgments and self-doubt. So be very aware in the ways that you are speaking to yourself. Learn how to be a little bit more kinder to yourself. Show yourself a little bit more love. And I feel like once we start to bring awareness to the ways that we're speaking, and just slow down and really think okay, I just said that I'm this, and I just said that I'm that. And our words are so powerful. We think that they are not, but really our mind and our thoughts and our beliefs are what shapes our whole entire life. We are creating our experiences based on how we perceive things to be true. So if you're calling yourself all of these things and saying you're a bad person, horrible person, you're ugly, you're this, that, and the other, that is what you're going to start to believe. And if you're trying to shift into a mindset of learning how to love yourself, then you're going to have to say okay, let's start speaking a little bit more positively. Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I don't like the way that I did that thing, but you know what? It is already done. I cannot change the past, but I can learn from it. So instead of continuing to go in these cycles of judgment and self-doubt and self-hatred, calling yourself out of your name and, saying all these ugly, nasty things about yourself, start changing the interdialect between yourself. Affirmations are a very good way of doing this. And I'm very specific when it comes to affirmations, because not all affirmations are good affirmations. And I also think that we need to get very clear on what certain things mean to us. Because like I said in a previous video, if you are saying oh, I'm beautiful, but your definition of beauty is not the representation of who you are, then there's going to be this disconnect between what you're saying and what you are believing. So getting very clear on, what you believe, and also getting specific, learning from all of the experiences that you've had, and really taking time to slow down. One really good thing that I was reminded of over the weekend was that sometimes the best thing to do is just listen. And there's many times where I feel like when someone else is speaking, or there's something that I need to say and it is heavy in my heart, or I'm just oh, I have to speak up, I have to say this, allow some time to really sit with what you are feeling before you just start speaking. Because sometimes we just start speaking out of emotion, and we can just be saying things that really are not in alignment with where we're trying to be and who we're trying to become. Get comfortable with your body. Get comfortable with the way that you look. And understand that you are not meant to look like anyone else. Even if you are, a twin, or you feel like you look so much like another person, that doesn't matter. We are all very individual and unique in the ways that we look, and we have an energetic frequency to us that no one else can match. There's only one of you. And the journey is really about recognizing that within yourself. Finding ways to feel comfortable and learn to have appreciation for the ways that you were created. Learn about your roots. Learn about where you come from. All of the people that have came before you, and your ancestors, and your parents, and your grandparents, and grandparents, they all had a say on why you are here and why you look the way that you look. And when we are able to connect to those roots and those parts of us, and we learn to really appreciate, okay, this is why I look this way. I was born into this, into this family, and these are the features that belong to me. And if there is something that you don't love about yourself physically, then start to get uncomfortable and really start looking at that instead of like shying away or trying to change it. A lot of the times we see something and I'm like, oh, I just don't like it. I just want to change it. And we're just like bashing ourselves. We're just judging ourselves. You wouldn't judge someone that you truly love. If you love someone unconditionally, you're not going to judge them. And you're not going to tell them that they're this and that they're that. So why would you do that to yourself? We need to learn to be as forgiving and as graceful as we are with other people, with ourselves. So turning all of that inward. And if you are uncomfortable with the way that you look, then you need to start standing in front of the mirror. Start standing in front of the mirror and start to get familiar with who you are and how you look, and really sit there and look at your body, look at your features, look at your face. Take the makeup off. And there's nothing wrong with wearing makeup. I think it's a beautiful way of expressing yourself, of decorating your body, and really like enhancing yourself and feeling good and looking good. Those things are important too. But it's not about covering up and trying to hide. It is about using these things to really enhance who we are, because we're feeling already really good about ourselves. Not because we don't feel good about ourselves, so we're trying to hide behind this mask. The best way to really learn how to love yourself is to know yourself. And it's going to be uncomfortable. And when we are distracting ourselves, why are we doing that? What is it that we're trying to avoid? Maybe there's something inside of you that needs to be recognized, but we don't want to look at it because we don't want to feel that. We don't want to feel the pain. We don't want to feel the heartbreak. So we run away from it. Learn to slow down and tap in. Really listen to how you're feeling. And take care of those emotions. You're going to have to start having a little more discipline. Discipline and giving yourself the things that you truly need. And that means sometimes doing things that you don't want to do. Like going inward and doing the inner work. Doing breathwork meditation practices. Doing things that are going to help you understand yourself, your inner child, your childhood experiences, any of the traumas that you might have had in life. And I know we can all say, no, I'm fine. I've never been through anything. I have no traumas. Everything's perfect. We all go through things. It is part of the human experience. There is not one human on earth that has not had trauma. And trauma can be like any little thing can be trauma. We always want to associate trauma to like a major life experience or like something tragic that happened, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. That's why everyone's journey is so unique to who they are, because we want to say, oh, you haven't really been through anything. You don't understand. You don't understand me. And we want to feel like, woe is me, and like I've lived such a hard life, and we want to play victim, because that takes away from the responsibility of like me having to take care of myself and look at myself, because if I can blame everyone else, then I don't really have to take responsibility. Loving yourself unconditionally also means believing in yourself, having confidence, and not talking bad about yourself or things that you've done, or saying like, oh, I'm an idiot because I did that, and I'm so stupid, or I messed up, and this, that, and the other. If you're talking about things that you've already done, they've already been done. you can't change it. So instead of like bashing yourself and judging yourself, we can take that as a learning experience and, you know, start thinking like, okay, well, I understand that I did that because that's where I was at that point in life, and based on whatever, this is what I chose to do. But this is where I'm at now. I no longer resonate with that part of me, but I'm not going to bash myself for it. I'm going to show myself love because I understand why I did that. I understand why I made that decision, why I reacted in that way. I understand that. And I love myself for it. But moving forward, I'm going to learn to, you know, do things in this way, do things in that way. Take those things as learning experience and not an opportunity to bring yourself down anymore. Like, bring yourself down more, I mean. Never talk bad about yourself, especially to others. And no, I see sometimes that people do that because it's like, oh, I'm not as pretty, or this and that about me, or someone gives you a compliment and the first thing that you say is like, oh no, I have this over here or that over here, like this, or I'm not that great. Take the compliment. You don't have to like follow that up with something bad about yourself to try to diminish yourself and make yourself smaller than you actually are. Learn to take up space. People that love themselves take up space. Learn to give yourself what it is that you need. This is why you have to connect yourself on these deeper levels so you can know what it is that you need when you need it. And not be afraid to ask for it. Not be afraid to take the space. Not be afraid to take the time for yourself. And this is something that I see so often with parents that, you know, we don't know how to take time for ourselves. We're always doing and going and thinking and doing all these things for our family, for our children, you know, for our partners or for our parents, whoever. So you're really going to have to start learning how to take that time for yourself. And it's not selfish. But if you want to call it selfish, you can, I guess, you know, start learning how to be a little more selfish when it comes to taking care of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. And that is just the reality of it. Once you start being very comfortable in who you are, you start to know yourself better. And as you know yourself better, you're going to start to really like appreciate who you are. Everything that you've been through. Give yourself that appreciation, that love, and that gratitude. Don't forget to remind yourself how far you've come. You can celebrate that. I have to constantly remind myself, you know what? Like, wow, I'm so proud of you. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of how far you've come. Tell yourself these things. You don't need anyone else to tell you that. You can tell it to yourself. You don't need anyone to tell you that they love you. I love you. Tell yourself that. I tell myself that all the time. I'm like, wow, I love myself so much. I sit in meditation and I just hug myself and I'm just like, wow, I'm so grateful for the woman that I am, for the woman that I'm becoming, for all of the things that I went in through life. Like, don't look at these things as hardships, as horrible things. Look at these things as opportunities for growth. The hard things that you've been through in life, look at those as blessings. Start to change your perspective. Start to change the way that you think, the way that you talk, the way that you speak about yourself. Bringing in more positive things and start letting go of the negative things. Become more aware. Anytime you speak, listen. What's coming out of your mouth? Are you saying something negative or something positive about yourself? And if it is something that you don't like about yourself and you feel like you have to constantly talk negative about it, explore that. Where's that coming from? And this is not something that's just going to happen overnight, you know. It's a lifelong process of reminding yourself and coming back to yourself every single time. But this is the life that you have been given to live. This is who you are. The most important person in your life is you. You have to learn how to love yourself in that way. Just as you would love anyone else in your family, your children, your partners, your mother, your father, your friends. It starts with you. Start taking care of yourself physically. Self-love is discipline as well. And sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's too hard. It's a commitment to yourself, a lifelong commitment to yourself. And if you cannot commit to yourself, how are you going to commit to anyone else or to other things in life? You have to make that commitment. You have to do the hard things that you don't want to do. You have to look inward. You have to look at your emotions. You have to look at the way you look physically too. If you are unhappy with where you are, then start to do things. Move your body. Change your diet. And we can start getting a little more physical too, you know, like change your style if you want to wear something different. Do your hair different, you know, do things that make you feel good. Yes, those things are also important, but let's not ignore the most important thing of it all, which is what is lying within. So it's really working from the inside out, because whatever's going on the inside is going to have a reflection on the outside. And as you are feeding yourself all of these good things, that's going to be a reflection of how you feel on the outside as well. And that's going to be very much noticed. You don't even have to say anything to anyone. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to say anything about yourself, because that is just going to be your energetic frequency. People are just going to feel that about you. And when you truly love yourself, it's going to show. So I encourage you to really just slow down, listen, take time for yourself, reflect, do the breath work, do the meditation, do the journaling, do the things that make you feel good. And I don't say make you feel good as in only indulging in like pleasures, because I feel like self-love is also discipline. So really having a good balance between the two. Just take as much as you need, but you don't need to like overindulge and overdo. I feel like there's also self-love and knowing where, you know, where our boundaries are at, and having the discipline to say no. Because I know that the better version of me, and the version that loves themselves, myself, himself, would say no. Because we love ourselves. I feel like no is like the most powerful word that you can use whenever it comes to really loving yourself, because that is showing like, you know what? I'm gonna say no. Well guys, I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you for listening to me as you always do. I love you very much. Leave some comments and subscribe if you feel called. I will see you in another video.